on, let's take it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Ah, shot the groin, hit the face.
Why do people study the so-called martial arts? Is it simply a love of violence? Or a desire to imitate the fighting skills of so many of the Hollywood and Hong Kong movie stars?
People study martial arts for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's your mother makes you if you're little kids. Other people do it because they're masochists. Some people say they want it for self-defense, or they want to go beat somebody up.
Some people are interested just in exercise. Some maybe look at it more toward for entertainment.
Action!
Ready?
While people study martial arts for a variety of reasons, there are some who consider its principles a blueprint for living.
If any subject has been misrepresented and corrupted in the West, along with Eastern spiritual teachings, it's martial arts. They've been presented as a way of becoming more powerful, of enhancing your ego, of developing a strong male macho image. But the real martial arts are a world away from that.
Get the arm, look at that, That's it. My personal opinion is, it is not the mystic, you know, all the funny things around it which makes me jittery. No, it is a hard way of life. Be yourself. Try to improve yourself. Try to be honest against everybody. But once you get shafted by somebody, really whack him. Boom! And then knock him out.
Expertise in the martial arts, some critics profess, is simply knowing a more efficient way to carry out a violent end. But there are others who claim that the search for hidden fighting techniques is also a quest for spiritual enlightenment.
I've traveled to the sacred mountains of China, to the Himalayas, to Indonesia, throughout Europe and America, looking specifically for martial artists who embodied wisdom and a real sense of the mystical.
In 1997, Alex Kozma finally found the teacher he was looking for. In Taipei, Taiwan, he discovered Mr. Chen Young-sun.
The first thing that Mr. Chen taught me was how the mind and heart are the real foundation of martial art practice. Not how to punch and kick, but how to be a better human being.
The martial art that Kozma studies with Mr. Chen is the internal technique known as Tai Chi Chuan.
Tai Chi is the quintessential of the internal martial arts. It is a flow. It's supposed to be very gentle, very soft in appearance. Inside, you should be very strong. If you have to fight and you're good at Tai Chi, what will happen is you'll be relaxed because nothing's happening. Then when I need it, I put the speed on it. It goes out, bam, goes back out again.
There are many legends surrounding the origins of Tai Chi Chuan. One states that it was invented in the late 14th or early 15th century by Zhang Sanfeng, a wandering Taoist with an interest in the fighting arts. He observed a fight between a snake and a crane in which the snake won through relaxed, evasive movements and quick counterstrikes. Zhang Sanfeng eventually devised a fighting form that emphasized this kind of movement, which relied not on muscular strength, but on an internal force called Qi.
Well, Qi, or internal energy, can mean virtually anything. There is no concrete description of what it is, let alone a concrete definition of what it is.
It's in every culture. The Eskimos, our American Indians defined it as something that moves. It's the animating principle in a human.
it's so difficult. It's like the Tao. If you talk about it, it ain't that. And if you try to paint it, it isn't that either. You have to kind of sneak up on it.
It's a very subtle power that one feels when one can relax, focus one's mind, and allow the qi or energy to flow.
Qi is the fundamental element of the material world, particularly for humans. Their entire lives are composed of qi. Qi is a combination of things. It is the genes you inherit from your parents' union, something that you are born with. It is what you eat during your life, and it is absorbed in the natural energy of the universe. They flow through your vital organs, and if they work in harmony, then you will produce real qi.
I mean, the strange thing about Teacher is that he seems really soft and frail. Just a little middle-aged man with wrists like this and a smile on his face. And it's very deceiving because when he hits me, it's very, very painful. And a couple of times he's seriously hurt me. And if he hadn't healed me the same day, or a couple of days later, I would have been in big trouble, I think.
You get people saying that it's my qi that could stop bullets. It doesn't. The guy missed. You have people saying that qi doesn't exist. Maybe it doesn't, but there's sure some strange things going on if it doesn't. I'd swear I felt it.
There's a lot of people see this as esoteric and mystical, and it can be played to an audience that way. And they go off, it's like chasing a will-o'-the-wisp, and they go off chasing this sort of like nebulous thing they can't really catch.
Indeed, the ancient martial arts relied on concepts like qi that were for centuries considered esoteric at best and mere superstition at worst. Only recently in the West have historians of the fighting arts attempted to shed light on these often mysterious forces. One such pioneer is Bob Smith. During the late 1950s and early 1960s, while working for the CIA, Smith had the opportunity to film many of the famous masters of Chinese boxing.
One of them was Wang Shujin, a huge, maybe 285-pound chap who would let anybody hit him in the stomach or kick him anywhere they wanted to. When you ask him how he was able to do this with a smile, he'd simply say, "Qi." But by far the most memorable teacher I met was Professor Zheng Manqing. He, by virtue of teaching for a long time in New York City, has a large following throughout the world. I was able to get very close to him and to watch him, and he was the softest of the soft.
Zhang Manqing's life is a testament to the power of qi. As a young art teacher in Beijing, Zhang Manqing contracted a debilitating lung disease. Fearing for his health, he began studying Tai Chi Chuan. Within a year, Qing had regained his health. In the following years, he would refine his practice and become one of China's most famous boxers.
He was able to anticipate whether a person was planning to attack, getting ready to attack imminent, or attacking. 4 different states. He was never defeated. He took all kinds of challenge matches. He hated fighting.
Zhang Manqing, it was said, could root his qi in the ground, and by redirecting his opponent's energy, easily send a man hurtling backwards.
He did it by relaxing and shifting your strength through his body, down through his rooted legs, into the concrete. So in essence, you're pushing not a man, but concrete. I know this for a fact because I was one of the pushers, and I've been photographed in that posture.
Some teachers have taken Tai Chi westward and often found scientific, not necessarily mystical, reasons for its effectiveness. William C.C. Chen, now in his mid-60s, was one of Zhang Manqing's earliest disciples.
When I was studying with Professor Chen, I always thinking about he's a magic man. He's, invisible man. And nighttime, he probably fly around the room. So after I stay with him for 2 years, I find out he's just as normal.
The secret William Chen has discovered is in how the parts of the body work together, body mechanics. And nowhere is this more self-evident than in the practice of push hands, two people trying to throw one another off balance. An exercise that a much younger William Chen practiced with his teacher, Zhang Manqing.
I respect him because of mechanics. And when he tell me to stay there, let him push, then he will push. But if he tell me to resist, so his body will leaning forward more. He needed more leverage.
Besides being the youngest of Professor Chen's senior students, he was also one of the few to utilize Tai Chi as a competitive fighting technique, winning several prizes in various freestyle Chinese wushu fighting competitions.
Punch. Right, so stay in. The most important part for the Tai Chi or for any martial artist, that in order to speed it up, you have to slow down. You have to relax. Otherwise, the muscle tense you up, and then that will slow down your punch. My son sees the father able to fight, and he wants to learn and fight. In high school, there's a lot of fightings going on. He wants to learn, how to fight.
William Chen has passed on his legacy to his children, Max and Tiffany. While Tiffany competes in push hands competitions, Max has taken his training into the ring.
The secret behind all martial arts on the physical level is biomechanics. It is leverage. How to use the human body as effective as possible, following Newton's laws of physics. When I was 13 years old, I epitomized the sickly, neurotic wimp. I lived in a neighborhood where there were only whites, there were very few Chinese. So people always called me the Jap, the Nip, the Chink. And I was living out in Long Island, and a friend just came from Taiwan. And I was fooling around, boxing with him on the lawn, and then suddenly he dropped down and he swept his legs around and he knocked me over like a bowling pin. And just one moment he's up in front of me, and the next moment I'm on my back. And the breath was knocked out of me. And I'm saying, "What'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you do?" He said, "That's Kung Fu." And from that instant, I became a fanatic. In those days, Kung Fu was secret. It was only taught in the Chinatowns and secret societies. Today, you look in the yellow pages, and there's every Kung Fu school, karate school, or judo school down the block. But when I first started, it was secret, so that when I did start studying Kung Fu, we would climb up the stairs in Chinatown, go to the top floor, and you'd come to this dirty, smelly old hall with an altar there, and it's all very romantic and very exciting, because here we're meeting these masters and we're learning the secret esoteric killing art.
Kung Fu, or Kung Fu, means great skill, excellence in Chinese. You can have the Kung Fu of driving a car. You can have the Kung Fu of chopping lettuce. As used in America, it is normally referring to Chinese martial arts, which are more properly called wushu or quan fa.
According to Chinese history, there was one master who developed what was called the 5 animals. And these were using the movements of the tiger, the snake, the leopard. This is the leopard paw. And also the crane. This is the head of the crane beak. The 5 animals were basically for 5 different body types and 5 different strategies of dealing with the opponent. Breaks, elbow, here, rip. Wherever he is, I have control of his body. Here, rib, hit here, here, his ear, throat, neck, here, here. I was seeking for deeper, deeper meanings, you see. My question was, if you're looking for the ultimate fighting techniques, the ultimate way to be a man and to be a deadly warrior, why does one school chamber the fist at the hip? Why does another school chamber the fist here? Why does some school punch like this? Why does some school punch like this? Why do some schools punch like this?
Larry Tan's quest to uncover the hidden secrets of martial arts took him to the steps of the Shaolin Temple in Hunan Province, China. Like Scotland's St. Andrews, the birthplace of golf, the Shaolin Temple provided both instruction and spiritual inspiration for many students of the Chinese martial arts.
Many masters who traveled from province to province, they stopped by the Shaolin, they practiced techniques with the other great masters, and then they left, incorporated their techniques, and created their own systems. So very often people use the word, this is a Shaolin system, a Shaolin Southern system, or a Shaolin Northern system, to give recognition for the Shaolin Temple. We got up 3:30 in the morning to shoot the monks meditating in the temple. So while they were setting up the lights and the camera, I noticed that there was a monk, a young guy at the corner of the temple practicing punching, and it looked like Western boxing. Now this is the Shaolin Temple, birthplace supposedly of Shaolin Kung Fu. I go up to him, I said, what are you doing? He says, 我现在打西洋拳, which is Western boxing. So I said, well, why are you doing Western boxing? He says, well, because Kung Fu superior, but Western boxing, you learn how to fight practically faster.
While Larry Tan claims that there are hidden secrets in martial arts, he also feels it's important to translate this knowledge into a technique for healthy living. He calls this the universal form.
I want you to inhale, and I want you to channel it. Now I'm concerned of how I use this energy to heal people, how I use this energy to help others, because I don't have to worry. I'm not a scared little boy anymore. The Shaolin warrior monks use this energy, which they call qi, or the force. They developed so you could use it for self-defense, for combat, and you could also use it for healing. This is what I call the spiritual dimension. This is when one takes the martial arts not just as a sport or Wednesday night bowling, but you take it as a discipline, as a path, and as a way of life.
These days, the so-called martial arts have become big business. Schools have sprung up around the country, indeed around the world, often run by masters, or in some cases, grandmasters.
I've been on record as saying America is the land of masters, and that people don't want to practice the martial arts so much as to be a master of the martial arts. So there's a lot of nonsense and a lot of light devotion in this business. But what is a master? Well, by definition, it's a person that's mastered something.
It doesn't mean just a practitioner or just a good teacher. To me, it means across the boards with all arts, no matter what it is, they've learned something about what is universal and true of all of them.
I don't think an individual person can claim to be a master. I think other people see them as masters. It's not something someone wakes up in the morning and says, oh, is it the 24th of August? Oh, I think I'll be a master today.
A lot of teachers like their students to call them master. Some of them demand it. Some even prefer grandmaster. This is ego, because the guy puts his pants on the same way as the rest of us, and give him long enough, he's going to end up dead just like the rest of us. He may be a really good teacher, but That's all he is. I mean, if he awards that title to himself, you need to run for the door.
But what exactly are these people selling? And what qualifies as a martial art?
Martial arts have a range of technique. The unarmed martial arts assume that you use hands, feet, you wrestle, you grab, and the armed martial arts, anything from picking up a rock to carrying around guns and whatever else you want. Sometimes you will get systems that combine the two. A lot of the battlefield systems would have it to where you lost your sword or you lost your gun, or you have to capture somebody alive, so you go out here and you have to strangle him or twist his arm or whatever.
There's internal martial art and there's an external martial art. The external martial art is heavily involved in developing your strength, developing your physique. The internal martial art develops your strength of spirit and works internally through the body.
Much like music, there are some softer, some harder, some faster, some slower. And you have this variety within the martial traditions, what they focus on, how they're practiced, even what parts of the body are used in the practice.
Few people realize that one of today's most popular forms of entertainment, wrestling, is in fact the world's oldest martial art. And traditional wrestling, with a history that goes back thousands of years, has deep roots in the folk rituals of countries as diverse as Pakistan, Switzerland, Korea, and Turkey.
It would be fair to call wrestling the oldest and simplest in some ways of the martial arts because it's just grabbing. There's hundreds of techniques and it's far from simple once you get into it.
In all societies in the world, forms of wrestling have developed where young men can show off their strength, and this is permitted by their elders because they can do it without injury to each other. There's no social damage. So one can throw another, but it hasn't injured them. So it's socially sanctioned violence.
Backhold wrestling is a style that has been practiced in England and Scotland for centuries. It pits two standing opponents face to face with arms around each other's backs.
The idea is that you keep your own grip all the time and you try to put the opponent down on the ground.
Robert Carter.
Judo, with its white jackets known as judogi, is a perfect example of a martial art that originated as a form of wrestling. Mastery of this art, at its highest levels, is truly poetry in motion.
Jiu-jitsu is the old style of Japanese unarmed combatives. The assumption in these systems is that you have lost your weapon, it is broken or whatever, you can't use it. And it is taught in the old ways, which means by schools that don't talk to each other. It's somewhat private, somewhat secretive. In the 1880s, Jigoro Kano, who's a Japanese educator, combined several systems of jiu-jitsu because what he wanted to do with it was introduce this into the Japanese public schools as a way of building character in boys. It wasn't intended to go out here and kill people with. This was meant to make you a better human being.
Judo became a means of physically and spiritually educating a nation, and it became compulsory in every school. Kano had several expressions. One was Seiryoku Zenyo, and that means minimum effort, maximum efficiency. And what that meant was that you were constantly striving to find the way that you would use the least effort to gain the maximum results from your endeavors. So Kano set a format that gave not only the nation, but the world the opportunity of seeing that martial arts had far more ramifications than just the fight in the dojo.
Judo was perhaps the first Asian martial art to achieve a degree of global popularity. When Japan, under pressure from the West, opened its borders in the mid-19th century, practitioners were able to spread Judo's philosophy to a variety of new audiences.
In the late 19th century, you started seeing Japanese in particular going around the world. They were in Britain, they were in France. They're breaking bricks, they're being strongmen, they're being wrestlers. And this is where a lot of people picked up their first descriptions of the Japanese martial arts.
In 1903, one of Jigoro Kano's original students, Yoshiaki Yamashita, was hired by a Seattle businessman to teach his unruly son some basic judo moves. Before long, Yamashita would make his way across the United States to Washington, D.C., and wind up teaching a most unlikely pupil.
He started teaching judo to Teddy Roosevelt, who was president at the time. And the Japanese liked this because the Japanese were then at war with Russia, and this gave the Japanese government access to the president. Meanwhile, Yamashita's wife is teaching judo to a bunch of rich women living in Washington, D.C., congressmen's daughters and senators' wives, things like this, because it was said that judo was good for empowering women.
But the judo that Kano had envisioned as a character-building exercise was, during the Second World War, perceived by the Allies as yet another secret weapon in the arsenal of the Japanese, a point Hollywood, in a patriotic fervor, was quick to seize on.
In 1944, they were making a Jimmy Cagney movie, Blood on the Sun. He was a journalist in Tokyo before the war, and he'd learned judo. And so they set up scenes to where he's doing judo in Japan. And to do these scenes, they had to use mostly European and American actors because all the Japanese were living in the concentration camps in the desert. And at the same time, they had to take these actors out to those concentration camps to study judo with those same Japanese Americans.
Movies like Blood on the Sun were made to convince an audience that Americans could beat the Japanese at their own game.
In real fighting, size matters. Now, all things being equal, the good big guy beats the good little guy any day of the week. What the little guy can do is become very, very good, so it's not a fair fight. A very good little guy against an untrained big guy is also not a fair fight. What the training does is it gives the smaller person, the weaker person, the understanding of how to defeat a less trained, larger opponent.
Perhaps no one understands this concept better than the man nicknamed the Beast of Amsterdam. John Blooming's fists are well known in dojos throughout Europe, as well as to the denizens of the red light district of Amsterdam, where he has provided security for strip clubs and casinos.
Hey, ik zie je. Okay. Every Budoka has his own style. Why? Because Dave most probably could not do the things I do. Why? Because I'm tall, I'm heavier than he is. On the other hand, he couldn't do what Dave does or what I do because he is still lighter and not really weight trained and all that. So everybody has to adapt to his own style and think about it and train in that way so that he won't be scared of a big guy. And that's why I developed, for instance, this real fast kinkiri. Because when I stand here and have a fast kinkiri, from nothing, pat. You know, in a split second, pat. So he couldn't see it, he can't see it in my eyes, what I'm gonna do, I just give him a deadly stare, and I hit him. Pat. See? When this is his head, pat. When he has his hand in front, pat. Showtime. And I knock him out. Ah, that's it. Turn around. Get the arm, eyes out. Get the arm, look at that, look at that. That's it. Get your elbow in, get the arm. That's it.
A 10th Dan in karate, a 9th Dan in judo, and a decorated veteran of 2 tours with the Dutch Marines in Korea, John Blooming began his martial arts training in Holland in 1953.
That must have been was that a big thing for the Japanese to give you a 10th Dan? Is that an unusual thing?
Very unusual, never happened. As a matter of fact, there is no, besides Kurosaki, there's no other 10th Dan in Japan. Also not with judo. Now don't forget 10th Dan, you don't get that just because you're so goddamn good. Usually you are so old that you can hardly walk. But they give it to you because in all those years your dedication and your students who won the championships and how you help the organization, make it big and things like that. But in Japan even there are only a few 9 dans now in judo, but no 10 dan. Kotani, my old teacher, was the last one and he died.
John Blooming, in many ways, is a quintessential street fighter. His whole theory in life is you kick him in the groin, punch him in the nose. Then you throw him down and rip off his arm. John Blooming grew up in a rough neighborhood in Amsterdam before World War II, watched the SS throwing people out of buildings because he lived in a Jewish neighborhood. After the war, he joins the Dutch Marines and served several tours in Korea with the U.S. Army. Comes back and he's hardly a choir boy. He's got all kinds of bad habits being an inner city kid, but he falls in love with judo. And so for the next 10 years of his life, the 1950s, early 1960s, he's one of the most intense Dutch judo people in the world at a time when the Dutch are turning out some really excellent judo people. After a year or so, he's defeating most of the Japanese champions.
I always was interested in a kind of watertight system you can use on the streets in self-defense. Now, don't forget, in the old days, you didn't really need that much. And now, you can hardly do without it. But anyway, I was always thinking, if you are against a boxer only with judo, you might get a punch, more often than not, and you lose. If with your judo you are against a wrestler, you still have a hard time beating the wrestler. Je kan het zo doen, je kan het zo doen. 2, 3, weer doen ik niet. So I figured if you combine, for instance, karate, the kicks, the defenses, the punches, combine that with throwing techniques, backwards, frontwards, hip throws. And the next 1/3 is once you have thrown him, don't let him go on the ground, jump him. Any street fighter, once you have him on the ground, he is a baby. So from here, in, bang, and up. Come on now, it was not that bad. And then you pull the other one over your wrist. See what I mean? But that's the whole system. 1/3 kickboxing, karate, contact, throwing techniques, 1/3. After throwing, 1/3 grappling on the ground. Together with the leg locks of Sambo, the Russian wrestling. That all together is the full circle. It's the end of the evolution in real fighting for self-defense. And that is not arrogant, that's the truth. Very dangerous. You hold that and the brain has no oxygen for 20, 25 seconds, he has brain damage. So always watch this, it's a dangerous thing. I never taught to my students useless things, you know, just for the show. I only taught them things you can really use on the street, not only in the dojo, but on the street, where it is important if your life is in danger, or at least if you're in for a big fight.
John Blooming dismisses the ritualized punch and kicks practiced individually by karate students, routines known as katas.
Kata has the purpose of showing the techniques and the agility, the suppleness of the body. But you cannot teach with kata another guy, another karateka, how to fight. Impossible. Absolute nonsense. But why they do a hell of a lot of kata in the dojos? Because the hours go by and the money comes in. That's all.
And Blooming has proved his abilities not only in the dojo, but on the street.
I had a scrap one day. There were 5 pimps, and they boarded a friend of mine. One picked up a hammer and he hit me right on the inside of my left foot. That hurt. I was so mad, I just, like a tiger, I stormed forwards and I caught him, cut away his hands, and one way or the other I hit him. Don't ask me if I hit him with my fist, I think so. Or I might have had with the triangle bone here and hit him, because the ear came off. He had a crack in his skull and the main artery was busted. And he was dying from 10 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock at night. From that day on, I swore I will never in a street fight, unless my life is in danger, hit him with my fist. And I developed the so-called shotai, which is just as effective, but it doesn't really kill you.
Zo ja. Pak hem toch wel. Even eraf.
One of Blooming's oldest students is Chris Dolman, a tournament competitor in free fighting. Dolman has proved himself in the ring all over the world, from Japan to Israel.
And these are world medals from the Summer Championships, 3 times #1. And this is 3 times #2, 2 times #3. And this is championships, European Judo Championships, #1, #2, and #2.
Did I exaggerate? A little arm?
Most of all, Dolman has proved himself on those same streets once patrolled by his mentor, John Blooming. Today, when things get out of hand in the sex clubs and casinos, it's Dolman who's called upon to keep the peace.
Chris Dolman is the best all-round student I ever had. And he fought anybody who would like to fight with him. And he is a real rough guy, too.
Fighting in the street is no rules.
Different.
No rules.
No rules, so you never know who you get against you.
Some guys try to bite, sometimes try to...
Yeah, they do anything. They're
To
street
put the
fighters.
finger in your eye, but I never give him the chance. You know what the most important thing is? To hit as quickly as possible.
Ja, that's it. Hier één en dat andere dingen er tegenaan. I myself, I like to be honest, I like to be a fighter. I never charge my boys money, really money, no. Just enough so I could run the dojo and my car and things, you know. And I made my money, luckily, at the casinos. But the boys gave me a return, something which is far greater and far more value to me. Like an Olympic championship or world championship. And still now, until today, they usually win. They're scared for them. We have a reputation. And that's make me happy.
From the canals of Amsterdam to the streets of Brownsville, New York, The true test of one's fighting abilities is not who wins or loses, but who survives.
I would say the majority of my students, their purpose for training is self-defense.
One, 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 one.
I grew up in Brownsville and the East New York section, which was at the time a pretty rough part of Brooklyn. In my years, I've seen people get thrown off roofs. I've seen people get run over by cars intentionally. I've seen people get beat, stomped, you know, and what that did as a young man and coming up into adulthood, what it did was it made me realize how crucial it is and how important it would be for me to really learn how to defend myself.
Roll out, watch your back, roll out, move out. Good, all right. Bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it.
People have a concept that the martial arts is about fighting, hitting, punching, kicking. That's one aspect. But the martial arts is here, it starts here, and as I teach my students, one of the most important aspects of the martial arts is respect.
I will respect the values of all existing life. Slow it down. Or abuse my martial arts skills.
I will say no to drugs and yes to success, because I'm on a quest to be my very best. A lot of times, a person who has low self-esteem, they'll walk down the street with their head down. And just like in the jungle, a lion, he'll pick out a herd and he'll see which one is the weakest, which one is limping, which one is unaware. And that person with the head down, that's a sign of weakness or unawareness. That's prey. So the mugger, that same mentality. Oh, well, that person's aware. But that guy, he's not even watching. And look, he even got his wallet sticking out his back pocket. He doesn't even know what's going on. So the low self-esteem can be a problem in the street. I was coming home one morning, and this guy walks up, and he got too close. He came into that zone, you know, where you're too close, where you violate the person's privacy. And he said, do you have a match? I said, no, I don't, man. And he said, excuse me, can I ask you something? And he went in his coat, and he started coming out, and all I saw was, I don't know what it was, it looked like a handle. I can't tell you the exact technique I did, but I can say that I hit that guy at least 20 times before he hit the ground. And, you know, it was an unfortunate situation for him. But what happened after he hit the ground, I pushed his coat back, and he had a sawed-off shotgun. Hey, what's up, man? What you doing? This is one of my little students. What happened to the Ush? Yeah, this is one of my little students. Everything all right? All right, you're still practicing, right? Yeah. All right, take care, man. I'll see you around, all right? I tell them, you got to prepare yourself. Train hard in the dojo. People make excuses. Oh, I'm too tired. It's too hot. I was working overtime, blah, blah. All that means nothing when you get in the street and you got to defend your life. So if you're going to train, you got to be serious about it. How much should you train? There is no limit.
Asa! 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 Asa!
And someone asked me, could I stop a bullet? And I said, yes. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They said, how could you stop a bullet? I said, I could stop a bullet by not allowing the situation to escalate where it gets to the point where this person wants to shoot me or want to kill me. A lot of people, they get shot because they stand there, they argue. They might push the guy, smack him in the face. Yeah, come on back. Go ahead, do it. And the guy go and get, bam, why you shoot me? You just asked for it. So, you know, I could in a sense, stop a bullet by not allowing a situation like that to escalate to the point where the person wants to shoot me.
Perhaps the greatest skill one can learn from the martial arts is the ability to avoid, not provoke, confrontation, and that fighting is ultimately the court of last resort. While choreographed fight scenes do prove entertaining, there is a profound difference between a fight on television and a fight on the street.
What you have to do for film fighting is the opposite of what you need for the street. For a film fight, you want to see the wind-up of the technique and the full movement so the audience can see the technique. They could go, wow, look at that technique. In a street fight, you want a very short movement that the opponent can't see. Very often there are many martial art movie stars. They look terrific and they look real tough, but they don't have the real fighting skills to make it work in real life. So for example, in some of the Hong Kong movies, let's say when he punches and I block, I'm hitting like this and blocking, and then I'm taking a big motion and he hits. And then I'm showing that full power. So I say, ha! Because of the films, because of Bruce Lee, because of the Hong Kong movies, martial arts is now part of the world culture. But at the same time, it's perpetuating myths. It's basically like a cartoon version of what really martial arts is, and that's doing a disservice to the true art.
Face it, people in America, they want to learn to be in the kung fu movies. You got people all over the United States today who are training in systems that they think are absolutely real. For instance, you have people training in knife fighting all over the country. Now, what do you think the odds are? He's got a knife, I've got a knife, we both know we have knives, and we're fighting. And real life is not West Side Story. It's not really what happens. If I've got a knife, I'm never going to let him know. If he's got a knife and I don't, I'm probably going to leave. So, you know, to back up to reality, you've got to know what's a winnable situation and what's not.
Fort Benning, Georgia, home to the U.S. Army's elite airborne rangers, training ground for America's young warriors. It is a place where the study of martial arts is not geared towards spiritual development, sports, or self-defense.
Use one to set up the other. Use one to set up the other. Our task is to imbue them with the warrior ethos. We have to turn them into a warrior because they're just regular people when they get here. We don't win wars because we can beat the enemy in hand-to-hand fighting. But the things that you learn from hand-to-hand fighting and the things it takes to be successful at it help us win wars. The history of the martial arts, they all really come from people who wanted to win on the battlefield. Even the styles that trace themselves back to, for instance, monks. In those days, you had pretty much pandemonium, and even the monks really needed to be victorious on the battlefield. Primarily what we do is based off of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as taught to us by the Gracie brothers, Jorge and Hoist Gracie.
The Gracie family, with deep roots in Brazil, has taken the basic elements of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and over several decades refined it into a system of techniques that members of the family have used to win free fighting competitions worldwide. In the process, they have developed a large following.
The Gracies are famous because they came along and challenged everybody to fight and beat them. They put their money where their mouth is. There you go. Only thing we've done is devise a program to teach people in a short amount of time those same techniques. Say, for instance, if I boil down all the ways you can twist somebody's arm to break it to 2 or 3 ways that are simple and show the principles involved, well, then I can show a guy that, and he'll understand. We've kind of boiled it down to about 13 moves that are sort of the core of a fighting strategy.
Pull your legs back. 3 points back.
We can take somebody and we can give them 5 or 10 or 15 hours of instruction, and they're actually a better fighter. The principal thing that you're fighting for is to get this position here. This is called the mounted position. The reason it's dominant position is because Sergeant Brown can punch Sergeant Henderson, and Sergeant Henderson can't return punches just because of the nature of the position. All right? This position also allows Sergeant Brown the leverage to be able to attack Sergeant Henderson's arms and his neck. Okay? For instance, he pushes this arm down here, and he pulls it backwards and raises it. It's going to break Sergeant Henderson's shoulder joint out. All right? That's one way he could break his arm. If it says in some book someplace, or somebody in some martial arts studio says, if I show you this technique, it's going to break the guy's neck. How do they know? They break somebody's neck? But if I tell you this will break somebody's arm, the reason I know is because either me or my teacher, Horian or Hoist Gracie, or one of my guys or something has done it. So that's what we like. It's got to be real.
While the Army Rangers rely on the Gracie system of jiu-jitsu, other branches of the military are free to employ any number of other fighting techniques, from the purely exotic to the more traditional.
In this phase of the instruction period, the student is taught the gentle art of murder.
The program that the military or the Army in specific has come up with all sort of goes back to what they were teaching around World War II time frame before.
There are no Marquis of Queensberry rules in guerrilla warfare.
William Ewart Fairbairn, pictured in this OSS training film, was one of the pioneers in developing hand-to-hand fighting techniques during the Second World War.
Keep the fingers tight together, thumb erect.
Fairbairn, a former British policeman who served in China during the 1930s, was among the first to combine European and Asian unarmed fighting systems with the use of modern weaponry.
What a difference it makes, doesn't it? It's one thing to fire at a target that can't shoot back, and it's another thing to hear those bullets whizzing by your ears. Most effective objectives are the side of the neck and 1 inch...
They're trying to teach 1,000 people in a 6-week course with 1 hour a day how to become lethal without anything more than their pocket knife in their hand. The whole idea is this is simple enough that I should be able to tell you, let you practice it a few times, and it should be of more danger to somebody else than it is to the guy doing it.
If your adversary holds you up from the rear, turn away from the gun, falling into him.
However, Mr. Fairbairn's system did, in fact, have certain life-threatening drawbacks.
The famous gun disarm, very common thing that they teach. If the attacker has a little more brains, the guy with the gun holds the gun back here and sticks his finger in your back. So you spin around, knock his hand, and here's the gun back here with you looking at it feeling real stupid.
Change!
Just as some martial arts techniques have been adopted by the military, there are specific fighting systems that have found their way from the battlefield to the street, like Israeli Krav Maga.
Very quick. Change sides, kick the face.
Krav Maga is a hand-to-hand combat system that was designed in Israel, primarily for the Israeli military. It is used in Israel by all law enforcement agencies as well as civilians.
Krav Maga, which means contact fighting, is a simple method of hurting people. How to break somebody's face, how to kill them.
It's primarily survival system. It's a system that has no rules, no limitation, no things that we can or we can't do. All we need to do is pretty much survive, and we'll do everything it takes to survive.
Stand here. Stand there so he will see what you're doing. All I do with this hand is I come, boom, now the hand gonna come along, hop, and the stick is out.
We work on how to create damage.
Faster, it will just go.
So we first work on our hand blows, kicks, and then we go to sparring, boxing, fighting against weapons, or defense against multiple attackers. We believe that to know how to defend an individual is important, but without the knowledge how to create damage on that assailant, you pretty much did nothing.
Krav Maga was the brainchild of Emil Lichtenfeld, a Czechoslovakian Jew who fought for the Australians during World War II.
Emil Lichtenfeld was born in Czechoslovakia. He, in an early age, got involved with boxing and wrestling and won countless amount of competitions. With the rising of the Nazi Party, he got involved in fighting fascists. And I think at that point he very fast understood the difference between fighting for sport and fighting for survival.
Soon after the war, Lichtenfeld immigrated to Palestine, where he set to work developing a system of self-defense that could be taught easily and effectively to large numbers of citizen soldiers.
He was in charge of teaching the men hand-to-hand combat. With the establishment of the State of Israel, he was recruited by the IDF, and he served from 1948 till 1963 as a chief instructor for physical fitness.
Of course, the life and death situations faced by soldiers and police are quite different from the ones normally faced by citizens on the street.
That's right. And turn, that's okay. And turn right.
The main difference is in a military situation, you know who the enemy is. In a civilian situation, you don't know who the enemy is, and the situation could occur in very different scenarios. And that's the main change that happened to Krav Maga after 1973. As far as street survival system, I think it's the most effective system out there today. However, it's not a sparring style. It's not a style to compete. And it's important to make the difference in between those two things. Because in the style to compete, you can afford to lose. In the style that's designed for self-preservation, you just can't afford to lose.
If you were a police officer and somebody grabbed you, you don't use those drastic measures. You may use this, and you control the man.
But for some practitioners of the martial arts, looking tough and acting aggressively doesn't guarantee a recipe for survival. Professor Florendo Visitacion, a Filipino immigrant, formulated a system that stressed proper state of mind as much as fighting prowess.
You stop.
My father was truly a paradox. You would look at this little guy, very thin, very humble, and yet if you knew him, you knew that he was very powerful. But he was the antithesis of all of the macho, martial arts, Rambo kind of culture.
Professor B was small, but he was explosive. And one of the things that you always knew at any point in time, he could take it to the next level. If you up the intensity, his sensitivity was so great, he would up the intensity. Guy coming and shoving you, giving you now a two-hand, coming off the thing, agitating you, giving you a two-hand motion.
Professor V, as he was called, passed away in 1999. David James, who now carries on his legacy, stresses that the professor always taught that to survive a confrontation, a person needs to develop a true understanding of the term self-defense.
When you start testing a person's skill, you're no longer going on principles of self-defense, you're going on principles of fighting. Because if I threw my hands up to you and say, yeah, you want to hurt me? Come on, let's go. Once I throw my hands up, I am telling you, I'm going to show you what I got, and I want you to show me what you have. Okay, now we're going to have a situation where the guy's like grabbing you, and he got you pinned up against the wall, checking your pockets, looking for your money. He's searching for you. He's searching your pocket to see where you have the money. But now we stop it. As he moves his shot, come underneath, right in there. Stop it, you got it for your choke. Now you're controlling again, once again. But if I need to use this, man, take it, boom, headbutt, this. Boom, yeah. Professor V always taught us, humble ourselves, submit ourselves, gain the confidence of the attacker, to let him know. When I say gain confidence, I want that attacker to have the confidence, oh yeah, I got the right victim. This person is soft. This person fears me. This person isn't a threat. When they start feeling that, they drop their defenses.
My father's overriding philosophy of his practice was that you learn to fight so that you never have to fight. He really truly believed that people who were powerful did not have to display power. They didn't have to be bullies. Indeed, he always taught us that when you assume power, what comes with power is a responsibility to be very restrained. And the more power you had, the greater your responsibility was for that self-restraint.
There are many martial arts that employ complicated techniques using very simple weapons. In the Philippines, a thin bamboo stick lies at the center of a fighting system that has evolved over the centuries, eskrima.
The Filipino eskrima, you could use this as your extension of your hands. Not necessarily you use this all the time, because you could use also any newspaper, your roll-up newspaper, or you could use any umbrella or anything.
Arnulfo Dung Cuesta grew up in Cebu City, Philippines, where for many, survival often depended on having some sort of fighting ability.
In Cebu, most people are poor, they have nothing to lose. So they just go out, you know, they don't care. They kick somebody or they punch somebody, you know, they don't care. They go to jail, kill somebody.
In 1978, Cuesta made his way from Cebu to the mean streets of Jersey City, where he opened up the Philippine Integrated Martial Arts Academy. It was here that his fighting style was discovered by a New York City Police Department defensive tactics instructor.
I first learned about eskrima watching Bruce Lee on screen. I realized most of his stick techniques and weapon techniques were based on Filipino martial arts. I'm a New York City police detective. I'm currently assigned to the police academy.
3, 1, 2, 3. Now, you always emphasize this one here.
Okay.
Emphasize this one here, you black, you emphasize the black.
Here. I felt it was extremely important for police officers to learn some of the disarming and trapping skills that eskrima employs.
1. Then you got this one here, got the elbow. Then you got this. Then you're in control. Then whatever you want to do. Right?
I feel any fight, any street fight, no one really stays with empty hands. If someone's getting beat up, they're going to look around and they're going to pick something up, whether that something is a park bench, depending on one's strength, or a broom handle. Filipino martial arts, you learn how to deal with situations like that.
4, 5, 6.
Every officer carries a nightstick in some shape or form. And not to have some rudimentary concepts of Filipino martial arts is beyond me.
Right. Now, you notice you have, I have got this? Okay. Right. Then I got this one here.
Although eskrima techniques emphasize the use of the stick and knife, various schools have employed unarmed techniques borrowed from judo and other Asian martial arts.
Your hands free.
In 1985, Cuesta won the first national Philippine eskrima competition. But like many serious martial disciplines, Cuesta sees eskrima as a way of life.
I'm happy now, the small group I have my students, you know, we are very close to each other. You know, we are like a family.
Sometimes a fighting technique that has become part and parcel of one country's martial traditions may actually have its roots in an entirely different culture. Savate, or French foot fighting, which enjoys the loyalty of tens of thousands, may be a case in point.
There is a story that some of the French sailors started what became later known as savate or le boxe français by watching Chinese fighters and then bringing these techniques back, because there's kicking.
For the French sailors of the 18th century, savate proved useful as a means to settle barroom altercations. By the mid-19th century, it was also adopted as a less fatal alternative to dueling. Street-smart Parisians discovered that certain savate techniques, including the use of a walking stick, could be effective against assaults by thugs and muggers. But with increased respectability, savate evolved into a well-organized competitive sport. As French foot fighting evolved, the savateurs began to incorporate hand and fist techniques, mainly borrowed from English boxing. However, a reliance on kicks has always been the hallmark of la boxe française. Nicolas Seignac is a competitive saboteur now living in Los Angeles.
My favorite move is faute bas, low kick, back leg. That's what I use the most.
In the martial arts, the importance of a teacher cannot be overemphasized. In Nicolas Seignac's case, this amounts to a yearly visit to Toulouse to study with his longtime coach, Franco de Guglielmo.
I was happy to meet him because at the time I was just a beginning trainer without the experience I have now. When I saw him, I said, "That's interesting. I wonder if we could succeed and make him a great fighter."
While he did become a champion, Seignac's mastery of savate's fighting techniques did not come easy.
I did terribly for my first fight. I didn't have fighting spirit and I lost badly on my first fight.
But with Franco's guidance, Seignac was able to overcome his fear of the ring and lack of self-confidence.
Franco's influence was very important. I mean, it made me understand that confidence is, the biggest part of success, and it got me there.
There are many reasons why people take up the study of martial arts. For Nandon Sken, the journey began in Thailand when, as a young man, he saw his father brutally murdered by gangsters.
When I saw my father die, I thought that I want to train martial art or Muay Thai, to revenge. And I moved to, from the village where I stay, and moved to the Thailand temple. So at the Thailand temple, the monk have taught me Muay Thai, and he have taught me that should not train Muay Thai for revenge, because revenge, there is no ending.
Sken took up the practice of Muay Thai with a passion and soon began competing professionally. But Thai boxing, like its counterparts around the world, often involves high-stakes wagering, and soon Sken was approached by gamblers and asked to throw a fight.
He said, "Will you lose for the money?" I said, "No, because I got my prize and I got my moral." And they said to me, "If you don't lose the fight, we will kill you, we will shoot you." I won the fight, so gambler must have lost so much money. And the man who approached me before threw the gun out, I shot my leg. Luckily, the bullet went through my left knee. I went outside the other side of my leg.
In many ways, Muay Thai has been the key to Sken's survival. In 1987, he began his own Muay Thai school in Manchester, England's Stockport district, teaching his boxing style that relies on much more than just punching.
We use boxing, we use elbow, we use knee, we use kicks. That's why Muay Thai they call science of 8 limbs.
However, as Sken often demonstrates, It's agility with one's feet that distinguishes the Thai boxer. For Sken, Muay Thai goes beyond fast kicks and punches. In Stockport, one of Manchester's tougher neighborhoods, he often puts his philosophy to the test. It's here that young people on the margin can easily lose their way.
I have taught so many children who had no purpose in life, who been stealing car or on drug before. Seeing a trained Muay Thai give them something to do, especially they have a lot of aggression. If they train Muay Thai, they can become champion one day, or they become a Muay Thai instructor as professional, can earn a living. Because Muay Thai doesn't teach you to be only a champion in the ring, but a champion in life is far, far more important than another purpose.
Some fighting styles distinguish themselves by appearing to be something else. To the untrained observer, Brazilian capoeira looks like nothing more than dance.
A lot of people ask, oh, you know, this type of dance we just saw you guys, you know, practicing. It's very beautiful, it's very dynamic, but they don't see the martial art aspect right away.
With its high kicks, musical accompaniment, and flamboyant movements, it would be easy to dismiss capoeira as simple gymnastics or showmanship. And indeed, that's what African slaves wanted their Portuguese overseers to think.
They disguise capoeira as a dance, and then when the mass would approach, they would say, oh, you know, those people, they are like dancing.
Today, capoeira has made its way from the favelas of Bahia to the lofts of Greenwich Village, New York. Its adherents are no longer just the impoverished of Brazil, but young, middle-class Manhattan professionals as well.
Cabeçada, go. Okay, the cabeçada is not here.
Edna Lima, a Brazilian capoeira champion, is only one of a handful of women who have gone on to teach this unique martial art.
Yes, contrário. Yes, vai. Yes. Kicks you see in capoeira, it's not clear those kicks can, you know, hurt, or those kicks can, you know, be like a weapon. And then you see behind the scenes, oh, that could kill.
Although today capoeira is practiced as both a dance and a martial art, many of the old strategies and techniques remain in use.
And then I'm going to do esquiva. In capoeira, everything is very tricky. You know, you use the trickness to confuse your opponent. You never showed your intention right away. I want to take you down. I'm not going to show my intention to do that. I need to fake, and then boom, I kick you in the head like by surprise.
There are many styles of capoeira. One style of capoeira, capoeira regional, may perform lightning-fast kicks. While capoeira Angola may use fluid movements. 72-year-old Mestre Grande has for over 40 years dedicated his life to mastering the movements and the philosophy of capoeira Angola.
Pé de árvore faz muito capoeira.
Everything in life is movement. That is what we can definitely use in capoeira model.
When people see capoeira today, they say, oh, you guys, you know, using this dance. It's very good, interesting dance. So we're still doing a good job because we're still hiding the martial art aspect of capoeira.
like many other countries, has had a rich tradition of fighting arts, and one they claim is the world's oldest. In Kerala province, the ancient system of Kalari Payat developed unarmed techniques, along with the use of various weapons like knives and sticks. But this fighting system also incorporates a healing art. The healing arts of India, much like those of Japan and China, view the body as a system of interconnected channels through which energy flows freely. Blockage of this energy, they claim, often results in disease. Through the use of massage techniques, practitioners can often rid the body of the blockage and restore the energy flow, curing the disease. These same individuals, however, can also inflict great damage, even death, by striking certain specific regions of the body known as vital points. The use of striking techniques against vital points can be found in many fighting systems worldwide. Seiyu Oyata is a practitioner of the martial art of Kyusho Jutsu, the striking of vital points to incapacitate or kill an opponent. Part of a larger system of Okinawan karate, Oyata is careful how he passes on this knowledge.
Idea, opponent stun, not to try kill. Idea, stun, then go control him.
And these are very dangerous techniques. You know, these are the things that he doesn't teach directly until he knows someone for a very long time.
Although Oyata is careful how he teaches his art, there are others who are not as scrupulous.
There are martial arts seminars. People who make a living going around teaching what I think are very dangerous things to anybody who's got the money to walk in the door. So they'll be out here, you grab this pressure point and you hit here and the guy falls over unconscious. Well, he really is unconscious.
There has to be an ethical dimension, and a big one, to martial arts, because you're playing sort of with fire.
In fact, Professor Jigoro Kano created judo during the 1880s, largely based on the principle of cooperation, the sense that one should work with a partner to develop skills rather than simply compete for a win.
He had several expressions. One was jita kyoe, and jita kyoe means train half for yourself and half for others. And that means if you selfishly take and win and don't give anything back, then you won't receive the full understanding of what you're about.
In a country long beset by war and conflict, the samurai developed a strict ethical code. It provided a model for how one should live and die with honor. Today, in a far safer Japan, this code of conduct has evolved into a way of life, Budo.
Budo is an expression that describes martial arts. Bu means martial or military, and do means way. But Budo means a lot more than that.
In the Shubukan Dojo in Itami City, Japan, 83-year-old Chiyoko Tokunaga teaches the use of an ancient samurai weapon, the naginata. Composed of a razor-sharp sword-like blade attached to a long staff, the naginata is unique, not only because of its size, but because of the individual who wields it.
The reason was to protect the castle. When the husbands were away in battle, the wives and the women had to protect themselves. The naginata was the weapon that they were taught to use.
New Zealander Alex Bennett has been working towards an unusual degree, a PhD in martial arts studies from Kyoto University. Although naginata in Japan continues to be viewed as primarily a woman's weapon, Bennett finds compelling reasons for its study by both genders.
It moved away from being a practical means for defeating an enemy on the battlefield to more of a way of developing yourself, your inner self. And those aspects are still very important in martial arts today. In fact, that's probably the reason why they've survived, because, as you know, nobody goes around with swords or naginatas in the streets anymore. I've spent a lot of time doing kendo as well, and kendo could be called a very sort of a masculine sort of world. It's very hard. Whereas naginata, the technique is very big and soft. The movement is circular, as opposed to kendo, which is quite often very straightforward. So you have a lot more movement in naginata, a lot more, I guess, possibilities and techniques, which makes it very challenging.
In armed techniques like the use of naginata, the weapon itself becomes an extension of the body.
Everything I learn in the dojo, self-control and respect, I take out of the dojo as well. I've been in a number of sticky situations which have been very, very easy to get out of because I've been able to control my emotions and maintain a placid state of mind.
Maintaining composure under pressure and mastering self-control are critical elements in understanding the traditional martial arts. But these are things that don't come easy. In the case of the sword, it's only by committed practice, harmonizing mind and body with the weapon, that a student can grasp the true essence of a fighting system.
The techniques that I demonstrated in solo form were from Yagyu Seigoryu Battojutsu. It's a system of sword drawing art. Some of them were very basic forms. This is what the trajectory is supposed to be like. This is what your breathing is supposed to be like. This is what your body movement is supposed to be like.
What you have to remember with the sword, much of this is very formal. But the silence is part of it. The pause. I'm supposed to stand here. The solidness, the stance is everything. I'm going from the silence to motion and silence. So you're working like a little Japanese garden where every rock has its place, every leaf on the tree has its place, and the silence is as much a part of the dynamic as the movement.
One extraordinary student of the Asian martial arts was a former Marine by the name of Don Draeger. One of the first Westerners to master Japanese weapons techniques, Draeger was also a committed scholar whose writings provided insight into the culture and the philosophy of many of the Asian fighting systems.
He was an American Marine, retired, went to Japan after the Korean War. He was studying judo, and what he wanted to do was study what he considered to be the true Japanese martial traditions, and then introduce them through articles and through books to an English-speaking audience.
Draeger was an unusual man, and I've often said that he might have been the greatest samurai of this century.
Draeger's skills in the traditional Japanese martial arts brought him great renown in his adopted country. In fact, he would himself become a role model for a whole generation of cinematic martial artists.
When you watch Don Draeger move, this nice stately walk, he's out here striding, you can see that some of the Hollywood actors, Steven Seagal, for example, appears to have modeled himself where I want to look like this. That is my idea of what a European or American doing a Japanese martial art should look like.
I'd say that he was a true warrior in the sense that I don't recall that he ever had openings. He was one of the ones that trained me this way, is you're looking for openings. You know, where's that guy vulnerable? And he just wasn't. He saw what was around him, and he knew how to use it. If he were out there commanding troops, he'd be able to do a hell of a job. But what he used it for with us was to help us improve. And that was the thing. It just didn't have any openings.
And Don Draeger, a famous teacher, a very good friend of mine, and my teacher, he made me in 7-8 months solid 102 kilos. And always told me, keep up your speed, keep up your judo, don't ever let the weights get the better of you. Use them as more power for your speed and your throwing techniques and your grappling techniques, and that's what I did. And when Kaminaka, the champion of Japan in 1960, came proudly with his chest in front into the dojo, I asked him to fight me, and he did. And I choked him out, so he went away in a stretcher. So I arrived, I guess, thanks to Draeger.
The road towards mastery is clearly a never-ending quest. Furthermore, it is a journey requiring a lot of sweat, a bit of luck, and more than a little help along the way.
The whole thing in the martial arts is you're looking for a style you like and a teacher you like. The best style is the one you do. Doesn't matter what it is, you're happy. Most of us are not going to go out and get in gunfights. We're not going to get into sword fights. We're not going to get into knife fights. We're going to die in the hospital somewhere, tubes stuck all over us. So that's the reality. If that's the reality, what are we training for? We're training to live.
The martial arts can be many things, but often their usefulness is not found in winning a fight, but in avoiding confrontation.
If you're a martial artist, if you get in the confrontation, you're already losing it. Because you already, you didn't pay attention to a lot of steps before to get in that situation. So it's the most important thing in self-defense is to prevent it.
And perhaps that is the most hidden of the hidden secrets in martial arts.